Now let's go to our first conversation today on the program. Now, Blue Seal Energy Group is a Nigerian indigenous energy solutions company, and it has commissioned its chemical production plant. What about 12.5 million US dollars a year in Nigeria? Now, the chemical plant, which is being strategically situated beside a mega refinery that is equally built along that area, is sited in the Block A, Blue Seal Chemical Road, Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos. The Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the company, Dr. Doyle Edeni, disclosed that the chemical plant will produce, I think, more than 100 metric tons of chemical products per day. Well, we'll get details of all of this. And he says there's prospects, of course, of doing more expansion in other locations. Let's talk to Dr. Doyle Edeni, Chief Executive Officer of Blue Seal Energy Group, and the Chief Operating Officer of Blue Seal Energy Group, to Mr. Lloyd Robertson. They are both in the studio. Let me join them for this conversation right now. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's good to have you here.
Pleasure being here.
I think we should start this conversation very quickly now. What really, let me start with Mr. Edeni. What really is the vision behind Blue Seal's investment now in local chemical manufacturing, and what impact do you foresee this company having across the market?
Thank you once again for having us. That's a very good question. Blue Seal was originally founded here in Nigeria in 2005. After a few years of operation, we, in 2010, we moved our business to Texas in the US. And we've been manufacturing there for the past, for nearly 1.5 decades now. And the goal is for us to make industrial chemical raw material inputs accessible and affordable to industries. Over the past few years, you've seen that many companies have taken flight because of the volatile economy. And as a result, there's been a lot of loss of jobs and capacity in terms of local manufacture of these critical industrial raw materials. So that is the gap we hope to close by establishing this ultra-modern chemical manufacturing facility. So in that facility, we are going to be making production chemicals that are used in refining oil upstream in the oil field, where you bring oil out of the ground, you bring them to the platform. So we'll be making some products such as demulsifiers, corrosion inhibitors, scale inhibitors, water clarifiers, and the like. But also upstream in terms of the drilling component of it. Eventually, on the second phase of this investment, we are going to be establishing some mud plants and building a facility in the Niger Delta where we'll be making drilling chemicals. Basically, those ones will be involved in actually pumping those chemicals down the well to be able to bring up the oil. Wow. Beyond the oil field applications, why we are actually at the Dangote side was that the first chemical that was used in the first field chemicals that was used in Dangote refinery were Blue Seal chemicals. That's a contract we got from Dangote. Wow. In terms of mobilizing those chemicals all the way from our plant located in Texas, in Luling, Texas here, it was a nightmare. In terms of the logistics involved, the fact that they needed it just on the go, and then it takes a long time for you. You don't control anything about the shipment. And they could give you a time of, say, you have just, they can say 12 weeks for the turnaround cycle for the product, from manufacture to arriving here. And sometimes we have found our product not arriving on time, and you make the customer very mad. Those were some of the challenges that we have in fulfilling that order. That's what led to us saying that if we have an industrial situation like this, where we have we manufacture refinery chemicals like cooling water, boiler water, and process chemicals to be able to refine the crude oil in the refinery itself. It was better for us to site a factory just beside the refinery so that we can supply not just to the refinery, but to serve the Nigerian market, as well as ship to other West African states from that coast. So it's a very strategic location, and we are very happy that we have realized that project. It was commissioned on Friday, and we thank even TVC for covering that event on Friday.
Interesting stuff. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Robson, now what really is the installed capacity of this plant, and what specific industrial and specialist chemicals will be produced there?
I think we'll be able to provide several different industries with specialty products that will make their operations a lot more efficient and cost effective. As Dr. Edeni alluded to earlier, it's expecting to have 100 metric tons capacity on a daily basis.
Wow.
That will substantially improve the availability for products in the local market.
So what industries do they serve, and how scalable is this for future expansion?
The beauty of this industry is that it's scalable on a fairly simple basis. It's a matter of building the locations and putting the capabilities in place. Going into production is fairly simple after that.
Interesting stuff. And let me come back to today now. What beyond oil and gas, of course, as well as general manufacturing now, are there plans to expand the product line, of course, to include essential chemical solutions in the future?
Yes, by all means. We have them in different phases. So this first phase is product line 1, 2, 3. The product line 1 are the products that we are going to be making for the general manufacturing. So they include commodities such as making standard solutions of maybe sodium chloride, caustic, making products like chlorine, and trying to make sure that people have ready availability, but standardizing those products in such a way that a manufacturer can trust whatever is coming out of a factory. Now, that factory that we have just constructed is ISO certified. We have about 3 ISO certifications to start with, but we are leveraging the opportunity we have also working with our parent company, which is R&F Industry, who has been almost like a century old in the business of production of chemicals. They've worked with the super major companies that have come ahead of us, companies like Baker Hughes, Champion X, and so on and so forth. They've been there for everybody and taking an interest, and taking a stake also in Blue Seal in terms of helping us to launch across Africa. So those are the sort of products that we'll be producing. But the beauty of the next phase of our expansion phase, like Lloyd was alluding to, is that there's a product today that Nigeria spends about $200 million in importing on an annual basis. Wow. It's called urea formaldehyde concentrate. That product has wide application from agriculture to military to oil field chemicals. That is the third phase of this investment project. As we announced during the launching of our project, we want to invest $100 million over the next 15 years, building about 10 plants specific in some locations. 4 of those plants are going to be in Nigeria. We believe that if we launch out in Nigeria and we are able to scale up and be able to prove that Nigeria can be self-sufficient, then Africa will be self-sufficient. So we have 6 other African countries that we have intention of going to. But urea formaldehyde concentrate production, we have significant impact, not just on the chemical process industry, but like I said, it will have impact on agriculture. You have impact on furniture making, that products like triazones and such as triazones and so on that are used in the pigment industries can be produced locally. And what we are importing from outside of the country now, where we go and log our wood here and ship it off to these foreign countries, only for them to be processed and returned back to us at a much higher cost, we can begin to chip away in terms of stabilizing the economy to make sure that we are self-sufficient and be able to maybe prop up the Naira. It may not solve all the problem, but certainly it will begin to help us to chip away at the gap that we have that currently exists in our market that's making the local currency very, very volatile.
You're the Chief Operating Officer, and I'd like to ask you this question, comes to my mind. The production process, how does it compare to global standards in terms of efficiency and quality?
The standards are coming from the United States, from R&F Industries. It will be exactly the same. The quality will be exactly the same because it's imperative that we provide a quality product, and the standards that we create too meet all the certifications of API and other institutions around the world.
That's pretty good, and that's what many would like to hear. And let me ask Dr. Edeni again to ask you, you talked about reducing Nigeria's dependency now on imported chemicals. You tell us how that will happen with your facility, and are you getting the needed support from government departments and agencies of government, of course, and the regulators? How are they making this happen?
Okay, thank you so much. If you followed us through, and you followed us through quite a bit, because we've had some history on this. You've seen that we've been working from day one with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. Organizations such as NAFDAC's Standard Organization of Nigeria, all of them across the board have been very cooperative. The thing you see about our regulators is that when they see a chance that there is somebody making an effort to try to bridge the gap in our economy, they really come full force. And we want to thank not just them. At the launch on Friday, we had representatives from Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. They had 7 organizations that are under them that were represented there. Even though, you know, there are challenges in terms of going across there. People stayed 4-5 hours on the road trying to cross those construction, but they made it to the plant to make a statement about their support for this project. So we've had support from different organizations, and many people are ready to engage. As I speak with you, before we even cut the tape, there were several companies and several organizations that have enlisted with us to wanting to be partners on this project, in the sense of, can you manufacture this raw material for us? Can you make, of course, we have our own scope in terms of what we deliver, but we are ready to talk with everybody and see how we can help them bridge the gap. If it is something we need to include in our product line, yes. But the regulators specifically have been wonderful. We have even the local content managers in all these IOCs, and even the local oil companies that came across. They've all sent their goodwill, and we are hoping to work with all of them to be able to address the need for us to provide this critical raw material. Because just for maybe 1 or 2 line items that need to be components of a production process, they can shut an entire assembly line or production line. And what that translates to is that there will be lost production. As a result, people are sent back home. So we are hoping that this intervention and other interventions that will come from other players in the industry that will collaborate with, will be able to stabilize the industry and be able to grow it together. Beyond that as well, we have a plan to even, in terms of integrating the academia into the picture, because there are some products that are critical, that are needed here. If we continue to rely on import of raw materials to run, even ourselves, it might become a challenge down the road. Even though R&F is known to be one of the biggest stockists in the world, even within the United States, of critical raw materials. They've been there forever, and that's why they can work with big companies that they produce for. They do toll blending for others and strict manufacturing for other groups as well. But ours is to continue to work with maybe researchers in the university, people that have some raw materials they've been testing, but they've not been able to go to a facility where they are going to see whether these products can be produced and tested in the market before we can scale it up. So those are part of the strategies that we are using. Why we have put that ultra-modern research lab. We have 2 labs, as you can see in that facility, the analytical lab and the research lab. So we are going to be working even with the academia, bringing students in for industrial attachment, people that are brilliant, that really want to test their ideas. We can use this opportunity to be able to discover new alternatives to what we are bringing from outside for things that do not exist right now in the economy. Those are part of the strategies that we have, that we believe will be essential for sustainability of these plants across Africa. So wherever it is found, it will help to stabilize the economy. It's an example of unleashing the power of US technology and marrying it with the local resources we have in order to ensure sustainability.
Let me ask Mr. Robertson this. Will Blue Seal be focusing solely on Nigerian market? Are there plans to move to other markets, especially maybe African nations? We see Dangote already moving petroleum products. Recently, jet fuel was moved to Saudi Arabia. Are you thinking of expanding beyond the shores of Nigeria?
Absolutely. You know, I have 9 years experience in Africa, and I know that the problems exist across the board with accessibility to products from around the world. And the issue is the cost of getting the products to your country. There's so many aspects of that are such high cost. I know when in my time in Nigeria, when you feel like it takes 5 or 6 months to have all your inventory in place.
Yeah.
That means you have to carry a large quantity of inventory, which costs a lot of money. On top of that, you have the duties, you have the tariffs. The shipping cost has been exorbitant the last few years for several reasons. And also the inspections, the transportation, getting it to the shipping port, it makes the cost of the product X works inconsequential compared to the impact that it has to get it in your warehouse. Coming from Nigeria to Angola, Nigeria to Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria to North Africa, to the Middle East, will significantly reduce that supply chain length. In doing so, we'll be able to reduce the cost for all those markets at the same time.
That sounds very good, and looks like we hope of expanding that market. Let me go back to Dr. Edeni and ask specifically: can you quantify expected cost savings for local businesses and industries that currently rely on chemical importation?
Yes, for sure. So start with, right now, if you want to import anything from outside of the country, you have to go and source foreign exchange, which is very, very difficult. Sometimes people have even their money in the local currency, but there's not enough foreign exchange for them to access. Even when they access it, they will have to prepay for those products. And normally, the turnaround time can take between 4 to 6 months. And so they are confronted with a situation whereby they have to stock products for 6 months, and then if you take a loan from a bank, the interest rate will be reading. Those are the savings that we hope to pass on to our customers, because within a month of placing an order at the factory locally here, we are going to be able to supply, manufacture those goods as 100% activity and supply to you. Whereas before, if they ship anything from you abroad, it could be products that have been sitting 1 year in their warehouse, by which time it has lost some of its activity. When it gets here, the potency has been greatly reduced, and so you are consuming more than what you actually require to dose. And sometimes there are times that people have received products that are already expired. Those are the savings that we are going to be saving the companies that will be serving in this market, not only Nigeria, but across Africa, as we hope to ship after satisfying the local market. Apart from that as well, there's the cost of labor. The labor cost here is greatly, compared to our US factory, for example, people earn a lot less here than they earn in the US. So it will be cheaper. So we believe, we have a strong belief that this value proposition will make a compelling case to every manufacturer who want to keep their assembly lines or your production lines running. Those are some of the things that we feel we can pass on with some of the profits that will come, savings that will come from this whole process. In terms of even shipping costs and clearing costs. When we import raw materials, for example, the duty is lesser than it is on the finished product. Those are the type of savings that we hope to pass on to the customer and be able to show them how much more they can reduce their cost of production in terms of making it not only available, but also passing on some of these profits, some of these savings, I beg your pardon, from this operation to their final customer. At the end of the day, we drive down the final supply price to the general public, and you see that there will be more buoyancy in the economy in terms of them being able to satisfy the local needs. They will be in a position to now compete with some of these foreign products that are coming into the market, because some of these manufacturers that we see today, especially in the general manufacturing, their goods are not able to compete against the influx of what is coming from abroad. For example, a local manufacturer that takes a loan at 30% is competing against a good that is coming from outside, where they are taking at just a single figure of 4, 5, 6%. We were able to finance this factory with 100% foreign direct investment. That is why we are confident that we'll be able to compete, because if we took a local loan in Nigeria here at 33%, 32%, all those crazy numbers that you are hearing all over the place, it is difficult for you to compete against anybody, irrespective of the local labor cost that would have factored into that production. So there's a lot of opportunity in siting this factory, and we believe this model is going to probably serve as something that people should look at more deeply. In December, we were invited by the Nigerian Content Development Board to come and showcase our whole story in terms of how were you able to do it. And we were able to share with them there how leveraging the opportunities we have in the US, starting with the basic idea here in Nigeria first. And because of the perception that what is made locally is not good enough, we have to move over to the US to manufacture and satisfy that market, have proven cases of customers that actually use and give us testimonials of the efficacy of our products, our chemical products. We now have to start shipping from the US back to Nigeria in order to force a mental shift that these products, there was nothing wrong with them in the first place. They are made to international best quality. It is only after we started shipping, after a decade now, and then a US entity saw the potential in us and said, wait a minute, we've seen you grow from point A to B and to C. It is time for, would you partner with us? That's what resulted to the partnership that you are seeing on display. And now has resulted to the commitment of $100 million that's going to be unleashed across Africa. So we believe in the next 15 years, hopefully we'll come back to the studio, hopefully you are here, we'll be celebrating Africa's self-sufficiency in the manufacture of critical industrial chemical raw material, because all these kids that were graduating out of school, that are coming out of colleges, we are talking to several people that want to partner with us. Some of the governments, the state governments and so on, and they have no plan for, like, how do you absorb them? You have to create the opportunity. It is interventions like this, but also it's a deliberate plan in terms of how we're going to build industries, sustain them, make sure we feed them locally with inputs under the feet of Africa. Everywhere we have made many deposits of mineral resources that we could explore that will help Africa to rise. And our strategy, make no mistake, this is not a charity. This is a business proposition, you understand. But the fact is that we must have a responsibility, we must bear a responsibility, especially those of us that have African descent, wherever we have gone, to be able to support the economy, especially against the backdrop of the call by the federal government that Africans in diaspora and friends of Africa, like Mr. Lloyd here, as you can see, he was working here for many years, being even the managing director of a major multinational company in Africa here for a number of years, agreeing to join our team in order for us to realize this dream for Africa.
So, Dr. Edeni has told us that this is FDI, so we're not looking at local loans. But let me ask you, as we wrap up this conversation now, what was the total investment required to bring this factory to completion? Already we know it was funded by not local loans funding, but let's wrap up on that note and what more you need Nigerians to know.
This facility cost $12.5 million.
$12.5 million.
To be put into place. And I think we will see a significant return on that investment very quickly.
You're very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
And what do you have to say with regards to that too?
Yes, one thing I can guarantee you is that foreigners will never put their money in anything that they think they cannot get back. Nigeria is the only environment that you can get not only in terms of the size of the business that you desire, but also margin. We believe with all the strategies that we have put in place that will be in a prime position to be able to drive this industry in the future. We don't want to do that alone. We don't believe that this strategy of saying me alone, I am there, whatever. We have been speaking to people that are competitors as well, that if you have an oil contract now that exists, we don't have to go to your customers. We will produce for you, and we can even private label for you. We only need a commitment that you are not going to dilute the product, because we want every product that leaves Blue Seal Chemical Plant to have the same international quality stamp that we have, as is always had coming out of our plants in the US. That it is possible for us to transform the industry by ourselves, by collaborating with others. Even when you compete, sometimes you collaborate with others. Even as a small company, we collaborated with companies like Baker. Even we started with distributing Nalco products. So those people are the people we want to align with as well now, even though we compete for some projects. But to build the industry is going to take a collaborative effort. And it's not going to be a one-man show, because if we continue to go at it alone, the business will not grow. And as you can see, over the past I've been in the industry for almost 30 years, 28 years precisely. And it has been always taking supplies from somewhere to bring here. We don't want that anymore. We want to significantly disrupt that industry and make it available. Even some of the patents that exist, they have expired. So why don't you teach it to all these small blenders and manufacturers outside and standardize? Working with Standard Organization of Nigeria, we are opening our doors and do it in a different way where it should not disrupt our business operations, but bring in people. We even have hostels for students to come and learn. some of them only have head knowledge of the things they are studying in school. There's no chance for them to practice the theories and hypotheses that they have. This is a great opportunity for them to be able to come here. And where else to site that factory but the Center of Excellence, Lagos here. And that's the value proposition we are making to the Lagos state government. We've had situations whereby regulators come and they said they started breaking up sections of the building initially when we were constructing. We had to call them to order. And thankfully, many their managers and their directors came to our aid. Now we are working in tandem in order to be able to grow this industry.
Interesting stuff. Well, we'll keep a tab on this and see how things play out as the years move on. Let's see how developments play out. Dr. Doyle Edeni, I know he can go on and on when it has to do with the chemical industry.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your, he's the Chief Executive Officer of the Blue Seal Energy Group. And Mr. Lloyd Robertson, thank you so much, Chief Operating Officer. I know you'll be operating all the operations in that facility. We'll come in again to see how activities go on in that place. Thank you so much for coming to our studio. We appreciate this.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much there. We'll take a break. When we come back, the discussion continues. This is Business Nigeria. Don't go away.